Hey guys, I'm Naya and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be discussing a couple of rulings and a couple of things that's just fine to remember about the current format. There's 3 Naturia ones, 1 tier limit one, and we're going to be discussing just a common ruling or rule, I should say, about replays as the 5th one. So before we get started, I just want to shout out my Patreons. A Patreon video is live already, a new one for the 1st and 2nd tier. And if any of you guys want to support me over there, you can always check the link in the description below. So getting started with the actual rulings, rules, things to remember. The first thing is going to be about tier limit Salik, because its effect is that it targets a monster, negates its effects, and then also the second part. However, we're going to be focusing on the first effect. It actually affects the monster for the entirety of its, being on the field face up. Like usually those cards that negate would say like until the end of the turn or something like that, but Salik actually is one of the exceptions and it negates forever. So it's important to remember, so you're not activating the monster after the turn has passed because Salik is still negating it. And then the first of the 3 Naturia rulings, the first thing we're going to be talking about is the Naturia Camellia's effect, where it basically replaces the cost of one of the other plant activations to just mill the top 2 cards of your deck instead. It's actually considered an effect. So when you look at Naturia Camellia at the end, where it says that it's basically a hard once per turn, as we like to call those cards, it's actually this portion, the sentence is talking about all of its effects. So this effect, being considered just a continuous effect of replacement, is considered into that as well. So you can only use the replacement effect once per turn as well. So it's not just a regular thing being applied for every single of your effect activations. You can only use the cost of milling your top 2 cards of the deck once. So that's really important to remember. And then the second thing, we're also going to be talking about a Naturia monster, and it's Naturia Rose Whip. So you have a couple cards like Summon Limit, for example, where it basically stops you, shuts you down after you've committed some action. So Summon Limit counts the summons from the beginning of the turn, no matter if Summon Limit was already activated. But Naturia Rose Whip only counts the activations that actually happened while Rose Whip was up on the field, because it needed to, quote unquote, see the activations being done. So if you have activated anything previously before Naturia Rose Whip comes to the field, it's not going to be counting those cards. And the second important thing when it comes to Naturia Rose Whip is if the card, the Rose Whip, is summoned after, like in the same chain, after a spell or trap card has been activated, when it's summoned and it's seeing the spell and trap card resolve, that's not considered to see the activation. Like at the point in time when Naturia Rose Whip is on the field, the card previously in the chain is considered to merely be resolving. So it's still not an activation that would count towards the Rose Whip limit. And then as for the third Naturia monster, looking at Mole Cricket, its effect to special summon itself from the graveyard can be used if the Mole Cricket was used for the actual summon. So if you go for Mole Cricket and you summon something like a Naturia Beast, you can immediately activate the Mole Cricket effect to special summon itself back. It was able to, quote unquote, see the monster being summoned, like the summon happening. So that's why it's able to return itself immediately after it's been used for the summon. And then as for the last thing I wanted to discuss with you today, we're going to just briefly go over replays. So what I wanted to mention is when you're attacking with a monster and the number of monsters or legal attack targets on your opponent's side of the field changes. Basically what happens, the replay occurs, you are able to choose a different attack target. However, it's not considered a redeclaration, it's just a replay. So cards that would activate on declaration, like Mirror Force and stuff like that, cannot be activated. That's the first part. The second part, if you choose to not attack, not have a replay into like any other attack target, if you choose to not attack at all, you still are considered to have declared an attack that turn with that monster, so it cannot change its battle position. And the last thing I wanted to mention, you are still legally able to use a fast effect before you decide what your replay target is going to be. So if the number of monsters on the opponent's side of the field changes or whatever, and you feel like you want to use a fast effect that's going to be able to, destroy their monster or something, whatever it may be, to make it easier for you, you are still legally allowed to do that before you, say, okay, I'm replaying into this monster or whatever it may be. So that's just a couple of things when it comes to the replay, because anything in the battle phase, at least to me, that's what it seems like, can get confusing at times. So yeah, that's going to actually be it for the video. I love these kinds of ruling segments and just talking about things that are really important to remember in the current format we are in. So I had a lot of fun doing this video. And if you guys would like to see any more on the topic of, of rulings and stuff like that, I would love to provide them for you. So if you enjoyed, if you learned anything new, anything it may be, you can always leave it in the comments down below. And of course, like the video if you liked it, sub to the channel, check out all the social media, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.